way, when people say that the Earth is being overpopulated, it's like, look out the window.
Right about there. Let me start that over.
Damn it, Billy.
Pay attention.
Are you ready?
Let's do this.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Uncommon Sense. I'm your uncommon host, Butch. In the studio, we have Billy today. What are we discussing today, Billy?
The comments and opinions of this program may be considered offensive. We're going to talk about the overpopulation.
Now, yeah, the overpopulation. Let's start, not only talk about the overpopulation, but why we're bringing it up today.
Well, recently we did say something about overpopulation. Oh, because that Facebook conversation I had.
Right.
Overpopulation was mentioned. And I asked you guys if anyone else follows Elon Musk or whatever. And then Butch over here mentioned that the warehouse.
Yeah, the federal government has warehouses that store approximately 41 tons of food that
of course,
goes
that's probably
to
just a
waste
theory.
every year.
Right? It's just a theory.
I'll look it up, I'll verify the information, and I'll post it in an upcoming episode.
But on that note, I was watching Russell Brand the other day. This is a clip from his, what is it called? Under the Skin is what it's called.
Under the Skin, okay,
His
yeah.
Under the Skin podcast. So this is a clip from that he posted on YouTube, on the tube.
On the tube.
On the tube of you. Alright, so he's interviewing this dude, obviously. And dude over here is an author, Daniel Pinchbeck. And they're discussing the idea of post-work society. That I find interesting too, because we had an episode quite a while back about the automation of the workplace.
We did discuss that quite vividly, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that going to affect us as everyday citizens and workers?
Right.
But what he asked for from his audience was to keep an open mind as to where the world is going as far as automation. And that this conversation was relating around how we could change our systems to still benefit regular citizens in an automated society.
Right.
So it was an interesting listen. But I wanted to play this little clip for you guys because this guy is pretty educated. And frankly pretty leftist. Okay? I mean, as far as like we would be concerned, he's a little more socialistic in some ways.
Right. Okay, let's see what he has to say.
Okay, so all of that lead up was so that I could play this little tiny clip for you.
But I think this idea is a really powerful one because we know that although the ecological crisis is changing some of the dynamics, we have enough food to feed everybody. We have enough resources to take care of everybody. We have enough food to feed everybody. We have enough resources to take care of everybody. I mean, we could just start from that. Like, what if people, and if people don't, so the only reason that we're in this, clusterfuck is because it serves the interest of the powerful, right? I mean,
cool. Okay, yeah, I'll stop it there. He said the main thing I was noting was that we have enough food and resources to sustain everyone. And if that meant to start with that, kind of like in a start from scratch scenario, that the governments of the world have enough food to feed everyone.
Yeah. Sure
until because they were talking about the financial aspect of changing our entire system in what sounds to me, have you ever heard of the circular system
Right.
that they've been talking about?
Yep.
Where we recycle literally everything, and whatever you don't use, whatever your company doesn't use, goes to another company so that they can utilize it or make it into something else
Right.
or somebody else to utilize. And it's just this constant circle of life to where there is absolute minimal waste, right? And it is interesting to look into, and I think that we should all be open to these types of ideas
Yeah.
because
Definitely.
our world is changing, whether we like it or not.
Right.
You know, the whole
it is.
automated thing is a huge thing. I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, I think we would be headed for automation, but it seems like we're going through a regression instead of a progression.
Yeah. There's a lot of places where it's like we are regressing in certain aspects and then we are progressing in others, but we're not utilizing that progress properly. And then there's other places where I think we're progressing way too far. Like with AIs and stuff.
Right.
Y'all have seen iRobot, right?
But if you haven't, check it out. It's a good
good
movie. And if you for the more literary, I would recommend checking out the book by Isaac Asimov.
Yes.
The book was very intense.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. I'll let you read the book to find out the rest. I hate giving stuff.
So this overpopulation thing, though, that guy right there said what I was thinking. Like, our governments have enough food to sustain the population, or do the math, whatever, given time. Ask Elon Musk; he probably knows.
Right.
But so that said, it would give us that chance to change to this like circular system. I think maybe that should be something we should look into too. Is what is this whole circular system about? What do we think it might take for something like that to work?
Yes.
You know,
I mean, everyone's shooting for a utopia, and the only thing I can say is nothing in the world is perfect.
no, nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Right.
But really, I don't think utopia necessarily means to be perfect. I think utopia means a fully harmonized society where things flow properly as they should in nature. That our society reflects the consistency of nature.
Right.
That's what I think of when I think of a utopia.
Oh,
That
sort of
it's
like,
people living with nature rather than against her, and utilizing our technology and our knowledge
mhm.
to live with her.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sort of like the Native Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had, I mean, they didn't have famine.
Or the Druids.
They didn't have
Or-
disease. Not until others came from outside. They spread the white man's disease.
Yep.
So,
Because all them Europeans were like living in their own shit. Dumping their piss out the windows. Like, you look at the uncleanliness of the time of the plague.
yeah.
It's no wonder.
Yeah. They'd empty shit pots and piss pots out the window
Yeah.
and
Into the street.
into the street. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. And they smell that stuff all the day.
All day.
Yeah, can you imagine on hot summer days?
Yeah.
Ew. Hey, looks like smells like somebody had some raviolis over here.
And people might complain about, the smell of a farm. But animal shit doesn't smell nothing compared to human shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's because of all the processed crap we eat. So that was really just a little side note there about the whole thing.
Right. Just open your mind
Yeah, and
say what.
don't believe
what if?
everything you read or everything you
No.
hear. Recheck it. And then recheck it.
Double check it.
Look at what their sources are. Go to their sources. Where did
Right.
they get their information? So it can be a really, really long process. And my main thing I wanted to say here today was that I personally don't think it's near as bad as the left is trying to make it. Maybe in certain areas of the world, it might be. Japan is pretty overpopulated. You know, parts of the world, I think, are overpopulated. But then, okay, let's just take America, for example. Look at how many people are crammed into New York.
Oh, yeah.
Or Los Angeles.
Yep.
You go out and go to Wyoming. There ain't nobody there. Like, just flat.
Yeah, a lot of land out there.
Yeah, dude, too much wide open space for me. I need those mountains.
I know. That's how I felt when I went down
It's
to
like
Houston, Texas.
it's like the opposite of claustrophobia, but gives you the same feeling.
You're right.
It's like because it's so flat and wide open, it's closing in on you.
Yeah.
It's so big. It's just
I need the feeling of, hills, mountains.
part of that too. I think is where we grew up.
Right.
It's like
Well,
a protection.
I grew up in the city when I was a
When
kid.
you were really little,
When
yeah.
I was younger.
But like when you go, say, like to Nebraska and some of those places where it's like, my aunt was telling me going there and it's nothing but green grass.
Mm,
And then the green grass meets the blue sky. And that's what it looks like everywhere.
yeah.
And that is the weirdest thing to think to me. Like, there was no trees. But anyways, what my point was is that you got places like the United States, you've got places like Africa that have all this empty space.
Oh, yeah.
Giant amounts of empty space. Australia is another one. Look at the outback. How many people are really out there?
Yeah.
It's nothing but desert. And you think like America, there's places that aren't desert that are still very unpopulated. And so you've got all these people crammed. They probably feel like they're overpopulated because there's so many of them in that small area.
Right.
But when you actually do the numbers versus the space available that would be livable,
Right.
there isn't an overpopulation problem. And there was a recent clip, and I didn't find the exact one I wanted, of Elon Musk. She says something about overpopulation, asks him about overpopulation, and he says that the overpopulation thing is a bunch of BS.
Yes.
That if you do the numbers, we're not having enough babies.
Yeah, exactly.
And she says, so you think everyone should be like you and have like 8 kids or something? And he's like, I'm just trying to set a good example. Well, that's right. I just find it interesting how many people really think we are overpopulated.
Those that are in suburban areas, or they probably feel very overpopulated.
Yeah, that's what
Now-
I'm saying. Yeah.
Right, because they're all compressed in the size of a small city.
They're all stacked up on top of each other.
Right, pretty much.
And their
I mean,
apartments and their duplexes and in yards that, fit like 2 people.
Oh, yeah. But at the same time, those that are in rural areas, or like ourselves, we're more of a rural area.
And we also don't want them to invade our rural area. We like our space.
That's right.
Right, we're here.
You come here, we escort you.
We don't like your kind around here. Move along now. Get! Oh. Even with that, there is still plenty of space for people.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of space all over.
If we stop having too many babies, what happens to our species?
Exactly.
And right now, we're already seeing this weird gap, and it's growing, of there being more elderly people than there are working class people.
Right. Well, we're living longer, so.
Right, but also, there's, okay, look at Gen Z,
Yeah.
and then you got the Alpha generation. How many less children are in those generations than were even in the millennials?
Right. Exactly.
And at some
We're having-
point in time,
Yeah, statistically, we are having fewer and fewer children as the years go by.
And then you add in all those abortions like we were talking about.
Right.
Let's not even talk about how many black babies have been aborted over the last 50 years.
And everyone's calling it a human right.
Yeah.
When it's not a decimation of
and yet,
a race or a
you
color.
think, how many of all the babies that have been aborted over the last 40 years, how many of them were black is astonishing. The percentage of them that were black babies is astonishing. How many more black people we would have in this country at this point.
Right.
If those babies had all been given the chance of life.
Right.
You want to go ahead and play this clip?
Yeah. Play this clip real quick here.
This clip is called "The World Will Face a Population Collapse." Elon Musk. Okay, so this is a different interview than I watched before, but he's talking about the same thing.
Most people think we have like too many people on the planet, but actually this is an outdated view. Assuming that AI is fine, assuming that there's a benevolent future with AI, and assuming that there's a benevolent future with AI, I think that the biggest problem the world will face in 20 years is population collapse. Not explosion, collapse.
By the way, when people say that the Earth is being overpopulated,
this is not true.
It's like, look out the window, and I know you and I have had this conversation that you're more worried about underpopulation of planet.
Oh yeah. Earth is going to face a massive population collapse over the next 20, 30 years. Massive.
Yeah.
The birth rate is very low.
Yeah, it's been dropping, right? It used to be 5, 6 children per family. Globally, it's like 2.4. In the U.S., it's below replacement levels.
It's well below replacement.
But I would still say,
so.
are you? I mean, when we spoke last about this, you're still a sort of abundance optimist that the world is getting better on many levels.
Yeah, I think the world is generally getting better. I have some concerns about advanced AI, like that's a risk. If I say like existential risks, I'd say super advanced AI is one. Super advanced AI is one. That's a risk. And probably the second biggest risk after that is population collapse.
Not asteroid impact.
No. The thing about demographics and birth rates, you know what's going to happen in 20 years because you know the birth rate last year.
Yeah.
It takes like 20 years for a person to grow up.
Yeah.
So we know what the adult population is going to be 20 years from now because we know what kids were born last year.
Alright, so let's talk about this a little bit. Elon says we can very easily tell what the population will look like, say, in the next 20 years, because we know how many children were born last year. We know how many children were born the year before that, the year before that. And it takes approximately 20 years for those kids to grow up.
Yep.
And it's not guaranteed that all of them will survive. So we are not having enough children per family, and that's globally. Per family globally, we are not having enough children to repopulate the Earth for the next generation. Well, and then the numbers he said about the decrease. It used to be 5 to 6 children per family in America.
Right.
We're not even reaching like 2 per family.
Exactly.
In many areas of Europe, it's at like 2.4 children per family.
Yeah. See, now, put it into perspective to give it to fall back on what we discussed in our previous episode on generational differences. I've had, Billy's had 2.
Yep.
The next generation will probably have 1.
You think 2? Yes, I had 2. But what about some other people? You know?
Right.
Most of the families that I know have 2, maybe 3 kids. There's a few that have 7, 8. Frankly, they're making up for those that aren't having any children. Because how many don't have any kids?
A lot.
Most of them being liberal couples. But yeah, I really think this overpopulation thing has really gone overboard.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And then now they're pushing abortion even more than they ever have before. How many things do we eat that, or, that are put into our food that lowers sperm count? Sperm count's down 60% compared to what it was like even in the 1950s.
Oh,
1960s.
exactly. Yes.
In fact, Savannah was talking about that on her podcast.
There we go.
So, go to Sav Says, Rapid Fire. So she was reading an article, I think it was from The Independent, and then she read another one where they were talking about how much soy and cottonseed oil are in vegetable oil and all this other stuff that causes low testosterone. It causes all kinds of other effects, cancers and this and that,
Right.
and low sperm count. So for years they have been feeding us things that bring it down.
Right.
Now they have influenced how many generations to have less children. You know what I mean? It's,
Right. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Oh, anyway, let me get my tinfoil hat off, guys. Sorry.
All right. There we go. Put it over there in the corner. Yeah. Next to the computer. Oh, man, it shorted out.
All right, so ultimately, all of our babbling is literally just us questioning the world, questioning all narratives.
We're trying to have an open discussion
and make sense of it ourselves. We're just normal people like you guys.
Right.
So let us know what you guys think. Do you think the world is overpopulated? Do you think we're having enough babies? Not enough babies? Too many babies?
Thank you for tuning in with us today. If you liked this video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and to hit that bell to get notified of new content. Join us next time. Same UnCommon channel, same UnCommon world. There we go.
Oh, look. Now we're like twinsies, bro.
Look.
Crisscross will make you jump, jump.